Scared. Bye-bye.
This lady wanted someone dead, but one slip up would turn
John,
the
what's
entire
up,
case
dude?
against her.
Well, obviously, the least message better.
Okay.
Ah, Sean, my man.
Option one.
Snap it back.
And then two is what?
Shoot.
In January 2013, Northland police were stunned by a man who had arrived at the station with some shocking claims.
I said, Jan, I said, you're going to go to jail for that. You know, I said, that's illegal. I said, that house does not belong to you.
But this was the beginning of a sinister plot they were about to unravel.
Doing live,
He has too much knowledge.
doing a live class for an hour, so you're gonna lyric. All right, buddy.
Come back and bite you in the ass.
Appreciate you, son.
It all
Son,
began
Sean.
with an unexpected tip-off to
Whoops.
Northport Police Department in January 2013.
You're here today to give us information regarding some kind of real estate scheme to defraud that was brought to your attention.
That's correct.
This is John Chamberlain, who's here to report her longtime friend and current employer, 49-year-old Janine Jones. But little did John know, he was about to throw open the doors to a case full of shocking turns.
She was buying up foreclosures and wanting me to do the plumbing renovations to them. And that's when it really started taking off.
This started off.
I guess I
as
should
good
start doing
business.
some clues.
John thought he had struck a great deal. Janine, a
1, 2,
Northport,
3.
Florida landlord, owned 13 vacant houses,
Yeah.
fixing them up and renting them out for a steady income. As a plumber, it was a win-win for John, with extra cash and a stable place to live that Janine gave him.
And how long have you been in there?
I've been in there since June.
So, for my understanding,
Last year.
oh, June of last year.
Yes. Things started good, and then recently she told me she didn't need my help and she needed me to get out.
But John couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. And once his suspicion radar went off, there was no turning back.
I've seen them just hop through the window, drill the lock, change the locks out. They've keyed all these properties to the same lock. Right. I don't go in there anymore, but this is the key for it.
Gotcha.
I mean, you can have it if you want. I don't want anything to do with it.
Janine didn't actually own any of the houses. Instead, she was running a carefully crafted scam, renting out properties she didn't own,
What?
tricking unsuspecting tenants.
How do you rent out a property you don't own? What the fuck?
She showed fake property documents, claiming the actual owners had handed over the homes in exchange for her covering their taxes. To execute this fraud,
That's
she
crazy.
even had a
Whoever's fallen for that has to be the dumbest motherfuckers ever, bro. That's crazy work.
scheme that she used.
She was mad because she didn't.
That's crazy work. This bitch is crazy.
Be able to trace anything back to her. That's
That's
what it was.
fucked.
So she had a little burner phone that she would give the number to her rental people.
John had also become a part of this scheme unknowingly while working for her as a plumber, until he got to know the truth.
There was a tenant in one of these homes that Janine was renting out. That tenant was at her home that she believed she was lawfully renting, and somebody showed up at her door claiming to own the house.
She said, I rent this house from Jan Jones. And they said, we don't even know who that person is.
However, he believed that Janine
Dude,
was
that's
incapable of harming those who rented or owned the houses. That's
That's
why he decided to
crazy, bro.
confront and warn her.
I'm ripping a fat toke, chat.
You're going to go to jail for that.
But how did it all begin? To truly understand John's claims, the officers needed to go back to the very start.
Why don't you take me back to, how you came to know Janine?
I met Jan approximately 9 years ago through church, and I became friends with her husband, Max.
Janine Jones was born in Tawas City, Michigan, and
Tawa.
later pursued her career as a correction officer at Charlotte County Jail in Florida. She was already a two-time divorcee raising a young son when she met Max Jones, a carpenter, in 1991. She married him the same year on October 12th, and it wasn't long after she became pregnant with their first son, Zachary Jones, better known as Zach, in 1992. Max tried his best to be a responsible father.
My happiest memories is with my father is every time he'd have a side job, I was able to go with him, and it was always pretty cool to see my dad in action.
2 years later, in 1994, they welcomed their daughter, Alexandria. Now their family looked complete, and everything seemed perfect, until Janine lost her job a few years later. But the reason behind this was enough to raise red flags.
She told me she used to be a guard at the prison a long time ago, and I guess she was fired because she had some affair going with an inmate.
But this was
That's
just
crazy
the
work.
beginning. Things were about to get darker. With no income, Max became the sole breadwinner, leading to stress and fights between the couple. But what they didn't know was that their lives were about to take a devastating turn. On November 27, 2011, Max suffered a fatal heart attack at the age of 51 years, which resulted in his sudden death.
I'd come home and
R.I.P. Max.
there was 2 police officers sitting in the road, and they walked up to me and said that my dad had passed. And I asked my mom what happened, and all she told me was he had a heart attack.
Janine appeared to be a distraught wife who now had sole responsibility for her kids. Fortunately, she received a $1 million insurance payout from Max's death, which she invested in a real estate business that ultimately turned into a whole scam. This marked a turning point. As Janine appeared to move on with her life quickly, she decided to make significant changes to her appearance.
The first thing I noticed was Jan decided that she needed to get boob surgery, which I thought the timing was kind of different, but I said, oh, whatever. I said, everybody grieves differently. What do I know?
After Max's death, Janine moved to
Everyone
a new
grieves
house with her
differently.
children for a fresh start. But just 6 months after her husband's passing, she began dating several men, while also consuming drugs and alcohol. It was then that she met 26-year-old Matthew Smith, who was half her age and just 2 years older than her son, Zach.
Right away after her husband died, I can't judge, but she was like out there immediately with a new boyfriend. This Matthew Smith, he actually came about, he was her cable guy.
Shortly after Max died, her response upon seeing him was, how would you like to be my boy toy? And his response was, I'd love to. He was very much her boy toy.
Of course, who
and he
wouldn't, bro?
loved
Free
having such a
pussy?
mama.
She pranced him around like it was a new pony is what she would do. She spoiled him. I've never seen nobody be spoiled like that before.
And yet that wasn't even the strangest part.
Free pussy? Who's not saying no
Janine's
that?
friend had a front row seat to the bizarre dynamics between them.
Jan called me out of the blue at like, was it late hours at night, and asked me if I would be interested in a threesome with her and her new boyfriend. And I was like, no, that is not up my alley. And then she proceeded to ask me if me and her could have a sexual relationship and Matt watch. And I was like, yeah, that's not something I'm into either.
Janine's whirlwind romance with Matt took a dark turn, leaving her family in shock when they discovered she had married him. Just 6 months after Max's death, in July 2012, she stunned everyone by announcing at a gathering that she and Matthew had tied the knot during a trip in Las Vegas. Her children were particularly taken aback by the news. In the following months, Janine and Matthew embraced an extravagant lifestyle, bolstered by the profits from their new real estate venture. Matthew wasn't just her husband, he quickly became her business partner as well.
Just all happened really quick, and boom, before I know it, they owned 4 or 5 houses. I was thinking, wow, this lady, she's got a good business going for herself.
But her haunting past was quickly catching up.
Yeah, she knew him for a few months before they went to Vegas and got married. Right when her and Matt first got together, it was brought to my attention that she was being investigated for allegedly killing her ex-husband, Max. And she said that it was, that it was being dismissed for inconclusive evidence.
Coming back to the scene in the story where John was here to report her now, this wasn't the first time he had sensed something was wrong. He recalled incidents where Janine's requests raised red flags, making him suspect she was hiding something.
There would be a lockbox on the door, and she said these houses have sat so long they can't contact anybody that has the key for them, and so you got to go in there and drill the locks off. I did like 1 or 2 for her, and then I told her, I said, I don't feel comfortable doing this. I don't do illegal stuff like this. And I knew at this time now that she was involved in illegal stuff.
U.S. President Donald Trump
if
delivered
someone's defrauding people, I wanted to tell them everything I knew so that they would know I had nothing to do with this little scheme that she was doing.
With her unusual behavior, the police suspected something fishy, and they had already begun looking into her possible involvement in her first husband's death. Now, with a possible murder investigation of her husband on one side and fraud allegations on the other, Janine was running out of places to hide. But that left one central question unanswered. Was Matt entirely in the dark, or was he the second mastermind in this case?
Was that Janine and Matt both, or just Janine, or just Matt, or?
No, that was both of them.
Both of them.
And I've heard it out of Matt's mouth that none of these houses are legal, and that he was trying to get Jan set up where she'd be like making $10,000 to $15,000 a month.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, who's the brainchild of this? Is it
Jan.
Jan?
Absolutely. I just can't believe what she has turned into.
John was the only one who knew the full extent of her fraud. Therefore, Janine considered him a threat and wanted him out.
I knew that there was something wrong, and she knew that I knew that there was something wrong. But at the same time, she's just kept smiling at me, and I kept smiling at her. And it was like, we know each other much better than this. Like I said, she was not real happy with me. It actually escalated to the point where she had Matt come over and serve me with a summons.
I pushed him and went on his ass and rolled down the driveway. He came up there screaming and hollering at me that he was going to kick my rear end and throw me out of here and all this other stuff.
That said that I had 3 days to get out
25K XP an hour.
Evicting me. Not only did she file legal,
We need another 200,000, 190,000 fucking
an
XP.
attorney to represent her on this matter.
Realizing he was in
190K
danger,
XP.
John wasted no time reporting Janine's fraudulent activities to the authorities.
Once I became aware of what she was actually doing with this rental scheme, I came down here and spoke with Detective Stewart's and told him everything that I knew.
The detectives had enough to push forward with the investigation. They were certain Janine was keeping more secrets. Now it was only a matter of time before they brought everything to light. The officers geared up for a daunting investigation against her for fraud, but nothing could have prepared them for what was coming next. Janine's friend Becky made a call to the police station to report something that would horrify even the officers.
I received a phone call from a confidential informant. They said somebody wants to have somebody murdered. The case witness said that she is friends with a lady named Jan. Jan had said that she wanted to have somebody murdered that knew a lot about her, knew too much about her life.
The target on Janine's hit list was none other than John Chamberlain, the man who had reported her real estate fraud earlier. John had reported her alleged fraudulent activities with integrity, but that act made him the target of her dangerous scheme. Now his life was in grave danger, but even more alarming was her plot to kill him, a scheme that would haunt everyone involved.
She said, I wish I could get rid of him for good. So I turned to her, I was like, what do you mean? She's like, for good. Then she called me the next day on the phone. She's like, hey, do you think you could find somebody that could help me with the John issue? Like, I didn't really know how to respond to it. She was a little bit more pushy with the second phone call. Hey, did you check on that favor for me? And I was like, yeah, I spoke to a guy. I was like, I will get back to you on that.
Both Becky and Janine met at a restaurant called Sweet Tomatoes for lunch to discuss their plan.
John Chamberlain? Did you tell anybody coming up there to meet you? It would have been a meeting. Oh, Matt. Oh. It was my house today.
Janine knew the walls were closing in, but she wasn't going down without a fight and came prepared. She doubled down, plotting a plan so solid it could outsmart even the sharpest detectives.
Is it just him now? Him and his daughter. And he's been alone all the time. How old is he? 11? Like that. And his daughter alone at night. The house that's up to an empty house. So he's coming home. He's been home at night then?
Still in shock, Becky asked Janine again if she was sure about wanting John dead, or if she had considered just scaring him instead.
I was talking to dude. He had a shitload of questions. That's fine. That's why I asked you who was in the house. Mm-hmm. Does he have any dogs? 2 cats. I wanted to know, like, what do you want? Scared. Bye-bye. Can I ask what for sure you wanted to do? Yeah.
With Janine's unwavering determination now confirmed, Becky asked her how she wanted John to be killed.
After we're gone. You want to leave any body? You want to protect the body? Do you want to leave the body? Protect the body? Or you want to dispose the body? How soon do you want him done? And you want him to take the body? Huh? And you want him to take the body? And you're sure? Like, this is something
Hit the crab, thank you. Holy fuck.
Janine had planned it all. She was already beginning to create an alibi for her by selecting a moment that would be most convenient and would be least likely to draw attention from investigators. After hearing Janine's entire plan laid out so confidently, Becky warned her about the risks involved and the price that came with taking someone's life.
You said 25, but you said you wanted more. So, we said you think on the risk. The risk it is.
Becky made it clear that she had no interest in getting into trouble, but she knew someone who could carry out her plan perfectly.
He's from the streets, but he's smart, right? Because if it goes on you, it's going to come back on me. No, I know. So what he was asking me is, how do you want it? He sleeps in the bunk bed. Yeah. He wanted to meet you. And I said, I don't know how she's going to feel about that. He's in line. I'll do it. He wants more. You know, you're willing to pay him, and I'm not making shit up.
A few days later, Becky reached out to Janine, instructing her on something she would need to set the plan in motion.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Go get you a little track phone with $10 on it, because we're not doing a whole bunch of cars today. Right. $30 for it, they're $8. I don't want to put my credit card on there, because that is attached to me. That's right. Yeah. I only want cash. Did you get that worked out? Oh, yeah. They won't waste too much information online, so I'm going to try and take the phone back and go to Metro. That's really going to help you on camera, babe. What am I going to do?
Janine then finally received the call she had been waiting for, the call from the person who would help her carry out her plan.
Morning.
Hey, what's up? Homegirl said you're looking to get some work done.
Mm-hmm.
How soon are you trying to have that done?
I'm leaving next Wednesday to go on a cruise, and I'll be gone until Sunday. So, either do it before that or after.
Why don't you have it done while you're doing it? That make more sense, right?
Yeah.
I want it all written down. I mean, if you want it, I need to know where he lives. I need to know his friends. I need to know what he drives, and I need a photo.
Okay.
You get all that?
Yeah. It might be fun.
Now the time had come that Janine was eagerly waiting for, and she, along with Becky, then decided to meet the hitman to discuss the execution of their plan. However, just as Janine sat in the car, she exhibited some strange, almost absurd behavior.
Hello. How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing
Good.
I don't say that. Yeah, but nice to meet you.
Okay.
Yep.
How's that? Alright, you gotta tell me where to go to. Yep. You're gonna go back out on Price? He doesn't know about Norfolk.
If you just eat good on eat them white boys. I don't know how y'all work out here, but
They will pull your ass over.
they'll get you for anything.
The hitman, however, had come prepared, wasted no time getting straight to the point, but what he was going to hear from Janine would shock him to the core.
You talk to my baby girl, she'll tell you, oh, I'm serious about my shit. I think come down here to play around. What are you thinking? You know what I mean? Because once you get me money, that's it.
After brief pleasantries, Janine wasted no time and got straight to business. But as the hitman began asking her for information about the plot, it revealed a cold, sinister side of her that no one had ever seen before.
But
I mean, there's no mistaking he's bald and...
No twin brother, no, none of that.
Most of his family's up in New York.
Okay.
He's got a daughter, which I don't care about.
As if plotting John's death wasn't enough, Janine also didn't want his daughter interfering with her plan. Her calm and emotionless demeanor depicted a far sinister picture of her, casting doubt that it wasn't her first time orchestrating such a crime. Determined, she took the hitman to John's house, pointing out exactly where he needed to strike. When he asked her how she wanted it done, she replied in a calm and stoic tone, detailing every step with chilling precision.
This house, that's what's up. That's vacant. That's a possibility. The neighbors aren't really out when it's dark.
No snoop around, nothing like that. All right, so exactly how do you want it done?
Easiest. I mean, if you think just snapping his neck and putting him to sleep that way.
I'm by my. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm gonna do it how you want me to do it. You know what I mean? So you can be satisfied. I can do it many kind of. You know what I mean? I'll burn his ass out, snap his neck. How you want me to do it? I can do it. I'm asking you, how do you want me to do it?
Well, obviously, the least messy better.
Okay.
For both of us.
Okay. Option 1.
Snap his neck.
And then 2 is what?
Shoot.
He has too much knowledge of my life that can come back and bite me in the ass.
Oh, okay.
She even handed the hitman a blueprint of John's house, making sure he could navigate without any trouble. Just when it seemed like this was the final step in her twisted plan, Janine took it even further, as she revealed yet another target she wanted gone.
That don't work. The only thing he does is the houses for me. He's the next one on my list.
Yeah. How would you want that one done?
Something along the lines of carjacking.
It seemed like her hunger for money was far from satisfied, and now she wanted her current husband, Matt, gone too. After all, he was more valuable to her dead than alive, as she planned to collect his hefty insurance payout. With her previous husband gone under suspicious circumstances, she now plotted his removal, showing no sign of remorse. The hitman and Janine both agreed to a standard amount of money for both murders, and Janine handed the hitman the money without hesitation. Janine's act of plotting the murder of her current husband casts a dark shadow over her character, cementing her reputation as a rising black widow.
I have one here. I have one at home. 2 in my bank account.
Once you give me the money, that's it. It's a done deal. It to be done. Deal.
She stepped out of the car to encash the rest of the amount, but there a bombshell dropped on her. Janine had unknowingly walked right into a meticulously planned trap, one that would soon unravel everything she thought was under her control. This was just the beginning of a series of bombshell revelations that would shatter her world. First, the friend she trusted, Becky, was actually Amy Wright, the confidant who knew nearly every secret about her life. Then she was confronted with the most staggering shocker for her. The hitman she had arranged to kill John wasn't a criminal at all, but an undercover officer, Dominic Harris. Her own friend Amy had been working with the police from the moment Janine expressed her desire to have John killed. Every moment of the setup to get the truth, from the staged meeting to the conversation with Janine, was recorded on camera, leaving her with no escape from the overwhelming evidence against her.
The hitman was not actually a hitman. The hitman was
Gotta be like
an
the
undercover
Trapman.
detective with the Sarasota Police Department. Dominic Harris ended up being a phenomenal undercover agent. He played the role of hitman just beautifully.
With undeniable evidence against her, there was no way out.
Janine had a shocked look on her face. She was definitely surprised that, oh my gosh, now there's the police here. And that shock turned to anger. And she had a very angry face. She was not happy that she was getting arrested. She scuffed her knee when she was taken to the ground. She urinated in her shorts.
On February 25th, 2013, Janine was arrested and taken into custody.
A Northport woman is behind bars tonight accused of plotting a murder for hire. Police say she tried to get 2 people killed. One was her husband. Our James Jackson tells us how she was caught through Operation Black Widow.
The investigators believed she supposedly targeted Matt because of the payout she was supposed to receive from his insurance policy. They then turned to her supposed target, Matt, her husband, and informed him about her plot. He was shocked upon learning the truth, but investigators had reasons to believe he was an ally to her for her real estate fraud.
Matt's reaction was to clam up. He told law enforcement he did not want to speak with them, and he just shut down. So that made me suspicious about his involvement.
However, after a few weeks of investigation, the police gathered enough evidence to arrest him for real estate fraud. On March 15, 2013, Matt was taken into custody and charged with multiple counts of burglary and real estate fraud. Returning to Janine's sinister plots, they had already arrested her for plotting to murder not 1, but 2 people. But what was to come was even more terrifying. After realizing her evil actions, the people became suspicious of her actions involving someone else's life.
In the community, people were suspicious. They were surprised.
Chick's
at Janine's
crazy, bro.
behavior, but nobody was ready to convict her in their minds. It was just enough to be suspicious.
All she told me was that he had a heart attack, but never really told me any details. And I knew my dad didn't have any heart issues. I knew he had stomach issues, but the heart attack kind of threw me off guard. And I kept asking her why this happened, and she couldn't give me any answers.
Max's family was really concerned about having an autopsy done. They wanted to know what happened to him. Once she said no, she's going to get a cremation, she cut off all ties with Max's family. So that put in some leery vibes in the air, and rumors started to spread quickly. There was even people posting on her social media about her killing her husband. She would then quick delete it.
Although they had never thought Janine to be this evil, but with her sadistic plot unraveling now, it was becoming more evident to everyone about what she was capable of doing.
That's crazy.
Janine Jones has potentially been involved in the murder of her previous husband, Max. Now she wants to have other people killed for money.
It wasn't totally a shock because we knew that she had likely killed her former husband, Max Jones.
These suspicions were further corroborated by the doubts her own family had against her after Max's death. It was revealed that Max died suddenly, but what led to his death was severe stomach problems, resulting in substantial weight loss and multiple hospitalizations. Even the doctors were unable to diagnose what was wrong with him. But it wasn't always this way. In the days shortly after Max's death, the Northport police did try to investigate his cremated remains, hoping for answers. But they hit a dead end, as no test could prove that his death was anything other than natural.
So there was no indication that his death was a result of homicide. You can't determine homicide based on cremains.
Finally, Janine Jones was accused of serious criminal charges, including a murder plot and occupational license fraud for a real estate scheme, after being arrested in February 2013. In January 2014, Matt Smith was sentenced to 6 months in county jail with evidence linking him to forgery. And he was also given 4 years of probation and ordered to pay $17,500 in restitution. He has now completed his probation.
Eventually, Matt Smith communicated through his attorney that he would be willing to engage in a plea deal in which he would testify against Janine in the solicitation to commit murder trial in exchange for a more lenient sentence for him. That offer was immediately rejected. Furthermore, I did not feel it was appropriate to call him as a witness.
The sting operation was proven to be significant evidence against Janine in court. In 2000,
Yeah, a chick was already cooked. Like, that guy's just trying to get a reduced sentence for free. That's funny.
The punishment, but did not plead guilty.
That's actually funny as fuck.
As a result, Janine was sentenced to 2 life sentences in prison without the possibility of probation. This was a significant growth from her previous schemes that included murder attempts. Officials also investigated the suspected death of her ex-husband before his...
Ugh. Hey, give me that seaweed, baby.
His death, Janine assured him for $1 million. Although there was no direct evidence to connect her to his death, the circumstances raised serious questions, but due to no evidence, no charges had ever been made. Janine's judgment emphasizes the serious legal consequences of solidarity crimes. She is currently serving 2 life sentences in prison with the possibility of probation.
With the possibility of probation? 2 life sentences with the possibility of probation? Bro, that's crazy work. How the fuck did she's got some good lawyers, dude. That bitch had some good fucking lawyers, man.
Like 50 of them. If he sees this, I'm a target. If he sees this, he's going to come after me. That's what I want. I want to end it.
Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to contact or engage with Mr. Boyette. This gentleman is a killer. He's shown that proclivity time and time again. They have stayed mobile, and that's one of the ways that they have eluded their capture.
He may use violence again to carjack a vehicle.
If he sees this, he's going to come after me. That's what I want. I want to end it.
On January 31st, 2017, at exactly 7:31 a.m., an employee at the Emerald Sands Inn in Milton, Florida, heard several gunshots coming from one of their rooms. They immediately dialed 911.
Sheriff's Office, emergency. It's Emerald Sands. My manager said to call you. I had a desk call me and tell me that they heard multiple gunshots coming from a room. So I grabbed my key and I went down there and I knocked 3 different times like I was supposed to. And all I did was put the key in the door, open the door, and I see her laying halfway in the bathroom, him laying in the bed, and everything's covered in blood. One's in the bed and one's on the floor. How many gunshots did you hear? They said 5 to 7. Did they look dead to you? Yes, ma'am. They look dead. Both of them.
Officers were immediately dispatched to the scene. Inside room 107, they found 2 female bodies lying motionless, one on the floor and one on the bed. Both had suffered gunshot wounds to the head. Copious amounts of blood stained the carpet and bed sheets, and scattered around the room were several .38 caliber shell casings. The 2 women were identified as 31-year-old mother of 3, Alicia Greer, and 38-year-old Jacqueline Moore.
Oh, that chick's got a vibrant smile. Holy shit. Look at this chick on there, right? Look at that smile, bro. Holy fuck.
Jacqueline Moore.
She got nice
Those who were
teeth.
staying at the Emerald Sands Inn were questioned by police about the incident. Just before gunshots were heard, a man driving a black Ford Edge SUV had been seen exiting his vehicle and entering the victim's room. This man was 44-year-old Billy Boyette Jr. Billy has an extensive criminal history, which includes drug trafficking, battery, resisting arrest, and many other charges. He had recently been released from prison, but there was a pending warrant for his arrest. It turns out that Billy Boyette was Alicia's abusive boyfriend, and had assaulted Alicia after accusing her of stealing his drugs and money. She was hospitalized due to her injuries, and 10 days before her murder, she filed multiple charges against Billy. Fearing for her life, she initially hid at her mother's house before seeking refuge at the Emerald Sands Inn with her friend Jacqueline. With this new information, police had their first suspect, and a search for Billy Boyette began.
Deputies are looking for William Boyette Jr. a
Well,
person
chat,
of
let's rip a
interest in the
toke,
case.
shall we?
He's considered armed
Tokes.
and dangerous.
2
Let's
days
give
later,
her.
on February 2nd, 2017, police received a tip that a black Ford Edge SUV was spotted at a Walmart
Oh,
in
fuck, I gotta turn on the dab,
30
Brady.
miles from the Emerald Sands.
Gotta turn on the
Police
dabby.
quickly gained access to
Rip.
the parking lot surveillance footage. A passenger is seen exiting the vehicle and entering the Walmart. Inside the store, the passenger was recorded pacing the aisles before eventually purchasing some camping supplies and over 100 rounds of .38 caliber ammunition. Detectives were able to identify this person as 37-year-old Mary Rice, who was reported missing just days earlier. Mary then exits the Walmart and re-enters the SUV. Concerned that she could be Billy's next victim, the police pressed on with their search. The next day, on February 3rd, 2017, the detectives were called to another crime scene just over state lines in Lillian, Alabama. While returning home from her night shift at 7:15 a.m., 52-year-old Peggy Brose had been shot in the face right in her front yard. The bullet shell at the scene indicated that she had been shot with a .38 caliber firearm, the same caliber used in the shooting of Alicia and Jacqueline. Her keys and vehicle, a white Chrysler Concorde, were missing. According to witnesses, they saw a man fleeing the scene in Peggy's car, directly followed by a woman driving a black SUV. Police later discovered surveillance footage of these vehicles driving away from Peggy's residence. If Mary was the one driving the SUV, why would she keep following Billy? Investigators now wondered if Mary was an accomplice. Authorities ramped up their search efforts by coordinating a massive multi-state manhunt involving law enforcement agencies from Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. This seemed to pay off as the black SUV was quickly located in a grocery store parking lot back in Florida. The police obtained footage from this parking lot's surveillance camera, and the two vehicles can be seen pulling in shortly after Peggy's death. Billy exits the white Chrysler, and Mary exits the black SUV. The two then transfer items from the SUV to the Chrysler before driving off, heading east into Pensacola, Florida. With a murder spree unfolding and Billy still at large, authorities decided to speak to the media to warn the public.
Practice some common sense. When you go to work, when you come home, make sure a friend or family member knows where you are, what your expected time of arrival is. Again, these may seem like measures in the extreme, but we're dealing with an extreme situation here.
The Escambia County Sheriff's Office offered a reward of $21,000 for any information leading to the arrest of Billy Boyett, and made it clear that he was armed and extremely dangerous. As the search continued, investigators wondered how Billy and Mary were connected. While Billy was staying at the same prison as Mary's brother, the two crossed paths during a visitation. They quickly became pen pals and continued communicating following his release in 2016. The police obtained a search warrant for Mary's cell phone records and discovered messages between the two the day before Alicia and Jacqueline were killed. At 8:43 a.m., Mary said, "I don't want to have to take a whole bunch of people's lives." 13 hours later, at 9:47 p.m., Billy responded, saying, "Mary, I'm taking care of some things I had to be taken care of. Sorry to alarm, but that's what I do." After discovering these messages, Mary officially became a suspect as an accomplice in the murders. On February 4th, 2017, a man contacted the authorities to report Peggy's white Chrysler abandoned in a field in Florida.
I found the car that's linked to the murder from yesterday.
Is there anybody in it or is it just abandoned?
I don't know. Trees are covering the whole car except for the back side and the tag. I got close enough to see the tag, and that's it.
The vehicle was found in a hunting area, so there were cameras mounted on several nearby trees. Luckily, these cameras captured photos of Billy and Mary walking through the woods. Billy led the way with a gun in his hand, while Mary followed holding a white jug and several bags. But despite authorities consistently being right on their tails, Billy and Mary were always one step ahead. Over the next 2 days, the suspects were spotted at several locations where they bought food, drinks, more ammunition, and other miscellaneous items. But they were always gone by the time authorities showed up. During this time, Billy's brother, Brian DeWolf, spoke with the media about his brother's past.
We had St. Bernards, and we raised them, and one of them kind of sidestepped into him, knocked him down. Now he's 4 years old, picked up a ball-peen hammer and knocks the dog out. Blame my mother for not coming up with $25,000 for his legal expenses so he wouldn't have to go to jail. Everything is always somebody else's fault. Somebody made him do it. He's never admitted to doing nothing wrong. I couldn't believe the last time he stabbed up the girl, and I figured he's gone. The federal judge said, "I'll see you in here again, you're gone for the rest of your life." But they couldn't get her because she was a criminal, and so they couldn't prosecute him, even though they had the police there, crime scene photos of blood everywhere.
You telling me that wasn't far enough away? I was
stab holes through the wall, like 50 of them. This man. When he sees this, I'm a target. When he sees this, he's going to come after me. And that's what I want. I want to end it.
Soon after, on February 6th, 2017, at around 6:45 a.m., authorities received a call about another possible victim of Billy's, this time in Beulah, Florida.
Do you know what happened to her?
I don't know.
Okay, so she's been hurt and her vehicle is also missing?
Yes.
The voice you just heard in this call belongs to the sister of 28-year-old Kayla Crocker. Kayla didn't show up to work that morning And with the murder spree all over the news, her mother and sister decided to check up on her. Inside Kayla's bedroom, her 2-year-old son was unharmed in his crib. Next to the crib was Kayla, bound with white rope and a gunshot wound to the head. The
Damn,
bullets collected
that's
at
crazy.
the scene once again indicated that a .38 caliber firearm
That's actually
was
crazy
used.
work. This guy's
Also,
crazy.
Kayla's white 2006 Chevrolet Cobalt had been stolen. According to
The
her
Cobalt.
neighbors, 2 people who looked like Billy and Mary had shown up at her house, leaving shortly after with the vehicle. Kayla clung to life for over 24 hours, but she ultimately succumbed to her injuries. 4 victims in just 6 days. Authorities were desperate to apprehend Billy and Mary, fearing the possibility of more victims.
Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to contact or engage with Mr. Boyette. This gentleman has gone far and above, what we normally deem as incorrigible. This gentleman is a killer. He's shown that proclivity time and time again.
He is armed and very dangerous. He may use violence again to carjack a vehicle.
What we are experiencing is a running nightmare, quite honestly.
But recognize how much of a coward this fucking guy is, though? He's got to go after single moms and shit like that.
Is in our midst,
Never fucking robs another man.
Everyone, and I mean everyone, should be aware of this, should be aware of what they look like, how they've been traveling, and take the appropriate measures.
He's made this statement to many, many people that he will not be taken alive. So we ask, please, for your assistance.
Shortly after this conference, investigators received several tips about Billy and Mary's whereabouts. The pair stopped at a gas station near Kayla's house in Beulah and were later spotted in a Hardee's drive-thru in Crestview. 4 hours later, Mary was spotted at a Dollar General in Pensacola, Florida. However, no matter how many times they were caught on camera, this Bonnie and Clyde-like duo kept moving and successfully outran the law. That was until February 7th, 2017, at around 2:30 p.m., when somebody called the authorities to report Kayla's stolen vehicle parked at the West Point Motel in Georgia, over 300 miles away from where it was last spotted. When law enforcement arrived at the motel, they quickly evacuated all other occupants and set up a perimeter around the building.
Damn, it is
The Georgia
fucking
State Federal
pissing with
SWAT
rain
team,
there.
The Troup County Sheriff's Office, and the U.S. Marshals Service were all on the scene. After a tense 3.5 hours of trying to convince Billy and Mary to surrender, Mary eventually gave in. She exited the motel room and was quickly escorted to a police cruiser. Shortly after,
Homeboy killed
officers
himself?
forcefully entered the room, only to discover Billy Boyette dead from a gunshot wound.
Yep.
Police gathered all evidence from the room,
So now
including
I'm-
blood samples, a .38 caliber firearm, several drugs, and an assault rifle. According to the motel staff, Mary, disguised as Kayla Crocker, used her identification and credit card to check in to the motel. But after 8 days on the run, she was finally captured and taken to a local detention facility.
The manhunt for a triple murder suspect and his alleged accomplice is over.
Billy Boyette is dead. Mary Rice is in custody. She was checked out by EMS, no apparent injuries.
While in custody, she made allegations against Billy Boyette, claiming that he had held her against her will and assaulted her.
I didn't do anything. Yeah, man. He beat me up, man. He beat the hell me. Like
I don't know. She seemed like she was being pretty willing. She was
The
following
day
him around
after
with the
her
car and
arrest,
shit.
Mary was brought into the interrogation room for questioning. Keep
think
in
she's
mind,
guilty.
Mary is unaware that the detectives have followed her movements using video surveillance.
I mean, I didn't know what to do. I'm there in my house by myself. You know,
I think she's guilty.
So I let him in, and he came in, and
For sure.
he had blood on the side of his head, and he was like breaking out, pacing the floors, and he had a gun. No, I just woke up, got this gun in my face, and the next thing I know, we're getting into a vehicle.
To your knowledge, did the incident at the Emerald Sands Inn, did that happen before he picked you up?
Yes. Yes. To my knowledge.
All right, where did you go from there?
He made me go into a long.
Did he stay out in the car?
No. Yeah. He was in Walmart. He was watching me, and I know he could see me in the store. He had somebody with him. They had a gun on me, they're in the back. And I didn't even get a good glimpse of who they were or anything. And I had to get in the car and drive. They got a gun to my side.
Where did this other guy you're talking about, where did he come from?
I don't know, and I've never seen him after.
According to Mary, Billy threatened to kill her and her children if she called for help. Her side of the story made her a victim rather than an accomplice, but the detectives weren't buying it.
Is there anything else that you want to change or alter from what you've told us?
When we got the black one, the other person stayed with it.
Mary, listen to me.
Okay.
If I were to tell you that numerous people saw you and Billy following the person in the white car to her home, where the white car was taken, you were with them because you guys were seen together, okay? There wasn't a third person there then. It was just you and Billy, right?
Right.
Okay. Why did you tell me that?
Because I'm scared.
Well, I understand you're scared. The truth makes more sense than the story at this point. You know what I mean?
That's the truth.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank
And
you.
that's the only thing that I embellished on.
Okay. Thank you for being honest.
I'm scared.
I know you are.
After calling out a crack in Mary's story, they continued to apply pressure by asking her about the murders, starting with Peggy.
So, Mary, just look at me and let's be honest with each other right now.
No, somebody got hurt.
Okay. What do you remember about that?
Gunshot.
You heard a gunshot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Told him fall on the gas.
Which car were you driving?
I had to drive the black one. He was in a white one.
And you followed him, and that's when you pulled into a parking lot, you said?
At first, he had me grab some stuff and throw it in there. That's when he hit me, and then he goes, no, never mind. And he grabs me and puts me in the white car. It was like he'd have an ice belly, and then you'd have like Jekyll and Hyde, for real.
Notice how Mary tells the detectives that everything she did was Billy's idea.
Told him fall on the gas. I had to drive the black one. He had me grab some stuff.
She inserts this type of language into every one of her actions, offloading all responsibility onto Billy.
Understand, these questions we're asking, we pretty much have the answers to them, and we have evidence to back up a lot of the answers we already know about. We just want you to be honest. There's surveillance of both you guys, Billy getting out of the white car and unloading stuff out of the black car. You getting out of the black car and helping to move stuff from the black car to the white car as well, and then you both getting in the white car and leaving.
Mary's facade was beginning to crumble, so they intensified their questioning.
She's like
focusing on
shaking
the
her head
other
like,
victims.
I want you to concentrate on that time that you guys got the last car.
I heard a woman. I was not in there. I swear to God, I wasn't in there. I wasn't. Look, I'm telling you, I didn't witness any.
I'm not here to judge you by any means, okay? We just want the truth from you. That's all we're looking to get from you. Okay?
At one point, I actually went inside the house.
Okay. And I'm glad that you said that.
She was fighting him. She was mouthy with him. He says, pick up that rope and give it to me. He tied her up, and I just did the bow in the back. I tied a little bow, to where she could get out.
Now, when Billy tied her up, or when you guys tied her up, because you helped tie her up, you said you tied the bow in the back, even though she could get it out if she wanted to.
Yes.
Okay. Was the guns loaded at that particular time?
Yes, he always kept them loaded.
He did.
I wasn't in the house though after that. And he made me leave. I went outside and I threw the stuff in the car, and before I could turn around, I hear a gunshot. He comes out and he said she shouldn't have backtalked me. She was gonna call him out. I couldn't trust her.
After several hours of vigorous questioning, Mary became overwhelmed with emotion.
He's a monster. He's serious about everything he says. He was gonna kill me if I didn't do what he said. Only by God's grace am I sitting here today.
Detectives believed that they had gathered enough information and concluded the interview.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Following this interview, Mary faced multiple charges, including accessory after the fact for the murders of Alicia Greer and Jacqueline Moore, capital murder for Peggy Brose, and first-degree murder for Kayla Crocker. While in custody awaiting trial, Mary continued to profess her innocence. On September 28, 2018, her trial began. The defense portrayed her as a threatened woman forced to comply with Billy Boyette's demands. They highlighted her upstanding character and called several witnesses to testify to it, including her brother, Joseph.
She'd always have a friend of hers over that...
She's life in prison. Hello there, zombie. Yo, zombie, I'm gonna start up another stream, buddy, and I'm gonna go play some zombies. So... make sure to go to my homepage and just wait for me to start that up. I'm gonna go play some zombies, buddy. Alright? Low-key feel like playing some Dire Eyes right now. Yeah, I'll set up the new stream while I'm just chilling anyway. Do I play Town again? You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna play some Town again. You gonna play some Town again, boy? Fuck it.